Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another one of our discipline dialogue sessions that we have with members of Ivy Tech faculty, along with our dual credit instructors from all across the state. We appreciate you joining us today. And if you're not live on Zoom right now, we do appreciate those who are watching on YouTube at a later date. So we do thank you for all of that. My name is Dr. Mark Schneider. I'm the AVP of K-14 Academic Initiatives and Support. So I help coordinate at a statewide level our dual credit programming, course sequencing, prereqs, all that type of stuff falls in my wheelhouse. So hosting these sessions is part of that. So it's always good to see all of you. And today for our discussion, we have Darlene. So I'll let Darlene introduce herself and give a brief intro.
Hi, everyone. I'm Darlene Doolin. I am the Dean of Health at the Valparaiso and Michigan City campuses of Ivy Tech. I've been with Ivy Tech since 2005 and done a lot of dual credit visits. So hopefully we can answer any questions you guys may have as accurate as we can.
So, well, thank you, Darlene, for joining us today. Before we get started with a rough agenda, just want to let everyone know that if you do have any questions, feel free to come off mute at any time and ask the question or raise your virtual hand, or actually just raise your hand, and we'll be happy to call upon you. It is a dialogue, or we hope to have a dialogue, so that way the more people that get involved, the better it is. And last spring when we had this, our health science discussion was, I think, the richest conversation we had out of the 20-ish or so session. So lots of good questions were asked during that. So please feel free to come off mute if you do have questions. Also want to let everyone know that we are beginning our self-assessment as we go through a reaccreditation or reaffirmation of our accreditation with NACEP. So we're calling this NACEP November. We're doing all kinds of different meetings internally and externally, reminding our various partners of our accreditation and the accreditation requirements we have. All that to say, we will need excellent examples of assignments, exams, syllabi. We'll need dual credit instructors to sit in on a short, like 45-minute-ish meeting with a peer review team in a year. So if you are willing to volunteer for that, I'll put my name and email in the chat here in a little bit. Feel free to reach out to me. We're just looking for great examples. We want to show off the best and brightest that we have. And if you want to be a part of it and lean into it, we would appreciate it. So starting off with our first question here, Darlene, and admittedly, I don't know all of the curriculum committee schedules for the fall, but for our dual credit instructors, they may be surprised to find out that a lot of our curriculum decisions, almost all of them, are driven by faculty. So, coming from the K-12 world myself as a former high school teacher, a lot of that usually would be kind of administratively driven. In the higher ed world, it's always faculty driven, or usually faculty driven. So are there any updates this year out of the more recent curriculum committee meetings, either new course objectives, potential new courses, certificates, prereqs, course objectives, anything of note come out of those curriculum committee meetings?
For the HLHS, nothing stands out, no big changes that I'm aware of. One of the biggest talks was with our HLHS 102, the Essentials of Anatomy and Physiology. It wasn't in the HLHS, it was actually in the MEAS curriculum meeting, and they were wanting to use the 102 to help student success. Students are struggling with A&P 101 and 102, the biology courses. Unfortunately, that didn't pass, but they're going to take it back to the table, get more information and take it back to the table. So that was probably the biggest thing. But as far as HLHS, not a lot of changes.
And that is always sometimes great news.
Yes.
There are there can be a lot of changes coming over the horizon depending on the program, but some stability is always welcomed as well as we go through different course sequencing and other things like that. Kind of keeping on the same theme there, which this is also driven by the faculty as well. All of our programs, especially the health science pathways, usually have embedded in them a certificate or a technical certificate, things like that. For high schools that are offering these pathways, what are some of the options for students after they get done with high school? Either if they have completed a certificate, what are options that they can do to if they want to come to Ivy Tech, or if they get a certain certificate or technical certificate and they want to take that to a four-year partner in the state. What are some different options that students have in front of them because of the dual credit programming that they go through?
As far as sort of certifications, there's phlebotomy, EKG technician. There is a medical assisting certificate. I'm not sure a whole lot about that certificate, but it could lead to the medical assisting degree should they go that route. But back to the HLHS, there's a dementia certification that we have like a temporary certification right now. We did put a subcommittee together to work on something a little more attractive to employers. This kind of goes along with the CNA, because that's another certification that students can take if they're wanting to go to nursing. Of course, they get extra points if they take the CNA. But having the dementia certification with that makes them more attractive to employers.
Something you just mentioned that I would like to hit upon, and I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't know as much as I should. You were talking about the nursing program and getting points on their application. Could you expand upon that a little bit and what that entails, and also maybe how how the dual credit programming does give a leg up to students who want to pursue a nursing pathway? One interesting note, or at least I believe I'm speaking correctly when I say this, is our nursing program statewide. Ivy Tech has the largest, we're the largest producer of nurses annually, I guess would be one way to say it, compared to any other institution in the country. So largest dual credit provider in the country and also the largest producer of nurses. So how do those two overlap with respect to a nursing application and points that someone might get towards one of those?
Their point system is pretty rigid. They have to have, of course, English, communications, anatomy, and of course the CNA gives them extra points. Now, something interesting we started doing this year is that we started looking at the students that don't get into the nursing programs and how many of them didn't take CNA. So then we're kind of targeting them with specialized advising. Say, okay, you didn't get into nursing this time, but you can get 5 extra points here that may move you up so that you can get in the next time you apply. So based on the grades in these classes, they get certain points. And I'm not an expert on their point system, but I can tell you that we have students that are just devastated when they don't get in. So we try our best to figure out ways to help them. And the CNA class is one way that we can do that. That 5 extra points sometimes means a lot to their total score. So that's what we're trying to do here. And I think that is, you mentioned best practices. That's one of the best practices I think that we can do is help these students move up that ladder on that ranking for nursing with that CNA program.
Yeah, and that does kind of remind me one thing that I know, at least in the past, that have popped up, and it's a little bit of a square peg round hole type situation with high school calendars and Ivy Tech and higher ed calendars. Higher ed usually typically gets done the first week of May and other things like that. Um, but having instructors turn in grades on time is critical for students when they are trying to get that nursing application in and wanting to get those points, because if the grade is still pending, then those points can't be applied. So I'm sure everyone who's on this call here is going above and beyond for this. So I'm sure they are probably almost always turning everything in on time or ahead of schedule. But just a friendly reminder to keep that in mind as you get to the end of the semester or um, the end of the calendar year.
In
Um,
fact, that reminds me of something too.
mhm.
With the CNA classes, depending on how they're offered, some campuses offer them every 4 weeks, some offer through an 8 week, and some are offering 12 week for the CNA courses. Um, it's important to know when the deadline for the nursing applications are, because once a student finishes the nursing class, then they have at least 2 to 3 weeks to wait to do the CNA testing with the state. And then they have to get put on the registry. Students can't get the points for nursing if they don't have the state license. So it has to be a current Indiana license. So they have to have time to complete that CNA and get put on the registry to get the points.
Yeah, that's good to know. Not being a health science person myself, I did not know that. So that is a good factoid. And I know we have a few K-14 administrators on the call as well. So that's good for us to know as we have those conversations with high schools and career centers. Um, One thing that we've had questions kind of pop up in different discipline dialogues over the last few weeks is what a site visit actually looks like. We'll have new dual credit instructors. And, from at least my perspective, a statewide perspective, we view this as a partnership with our dual credit instructors. It's not meant to be a gotcha or, looking to see, where there's some mistake and, catch you or anything like that. Oftentimes our program chairs learn a lot. Actually, the one we had yesterday or Monday, our program chair gave some really good examples of different assignments that they heard of from their site visit that they incorporated into their own classroom because of it. So it's really meant to be, kind of a two-way line of communication between the program chair and the dual credit instructor, a professional collaboration relationship. But Darlene, could you say, just speak a few words as to, what you're looking for in a typical site visit with a dual credit instructor?
Sure. One of the main things that we look at is the classroom and the teaching tools. Are they comparable to the college course? We look at the textbooks and ask for examples of assignments. And a lot of times they will demonstrate hands-on activities that they do. And that's really neat to see because, like you said, we can use that too. So we share. We look at the exams and the nice thing about dualcredit.com is that we can take our laptops and we can fill out the paperwork right there. We just have to get on their website. A lot of times their IT person will hook us up with that, and we sit there and we can talk and relax and just really enjoy the visit and complete their paperwork, and they have it, we have it, everything's done, and we've really established a good relationship, one that they're comfortable with, and so are we.
One thing I'll add from that too, that I've heard from some of our faculty members, if you're a dual credit instructor with Ivy Tech, you meet all of our credentialing standards. Our dual credit credentialing standards to teach a dual credit course is no different than the credentialing standards to teach a course on campus with us. And so oftentimes when a campus Especially if a certain program is growing, a campus will need additional instructors, part-time instructors to teach a course, once a semester or twice a semester, something over the summer, other things like that. But sometimes some of those good professional relationships that we have with our dual credit instructors does blossom into, some sort of adjuncting or other things like that with the college where you can, teach a course with us over the summer or an additional class in the evenings during the fall or spring or other things like that. So for all of our instructors on the call, do keep that in mind. If you are thinking, or, if you thought you have extra time or you'd like to do something over the summer, it does not hurt to send your program chair that you work with a note just saying that you'd be open to any opportunities that might be available at your local Ivy Tech campus. We get so many of our adjuncts now from our dual credit pool. It's just it's a great it's a win-win for everyone, which works well for all of us.
We had a full-time faculty that was a dual credit instructor.
Yeah, we don't want to tell any high schools that we've stolen their teachers before, but it does happen. And
Yeah.
there's, I will say, as an employee of Ivy Tech, one of the goals in the strategic plan is be a great place to work. And I don't say this just because it's recorded on YouTube, but Ivy Tech is a great place to work at. So do keep all that in mind. You at least have my endorsement to join the college, but we're not going to poach you here on this meeting.
No.
Or anything like that. I will say too, to pivot topics here, for those watching on YouTube, today is November 13th, 2024. So high school redesign has been a topic in the education space in Indiana over the last year and a half. What the final graduation requirements are going to look like, high school redesigns, what that's going to look like, that's all going to be finalized next month in December, has to be finalized by December 31st. So anything we offer up today would still be, somewhat speculating on what the final rules are going to be. But we do know a few themes out of what's been discussed over the last year, and one of them is work-based learning. And I do think the health career CTE courses and pathways are very uniquely situated compared to other pathways because of the clinical requirements, because of the partnerships with the local community for schools and career centers to kind of really lean into some of those work-based learning opportunities. This is kind of a question out of left field, Darlene, and I know this is more in the K-12 space than the higher ed, but just kind of thinking about that, what would be some, potential low-hanging fruit for students and high schools to lean into for work-based learning and, employer partnerships and other things like that, because high schools and career centers are really going to be looking at that. I believe the first of the year as they start looking at their programming for next year and beyond, where there's those opportunities readily available.
I think that one of the things that captures interest to high school and career students are tours to come in and see the different labs and learn about the collaboration with the employers and the job potentials. For instance, this is out of health, but NIPSCO, we have a program with NIPSCO at our campus, and students get to see the lab where they would work, and they learn about the potential of jobs with NIPSCO. And when we look at health, then, we talked about CNA and nursing, but there's other things. There's paramedic science, there's pharmacy tech, and a lot of jobs in those two areas right there. So one of the things that we like to show them is in our paramedic science lab, we have a simulation ambulance, and they're just amazed with that. And it really piques their interest, and they start realizing what a first responder is and what actually they have the potential to be. So I think the touring and just seeing the labs and learning about each program is important to them. to know that, how is my future going to go? And what are the potential things I can do?
Now, before we open it up for Q&A from the group, I do want to remind our dual credit instructors of a few benefits that are available to them as dual credit instructors with the college. In addition to potentially adjuncting with us, every dual credit instructor that has been with the college for at least 1 year or longer is eligible for 2 free courses every semester, each course roughly being $500. So you're looking at a $1,000 benefit. It's capped at 6 credit hours. So, but most of our courses are 3 credit hours. So that is good for you, your spouse, or any of your dependents. So if you have children that you know are going to be or are currently attending Ivy Tech, make sure you do fill out that form. So that way you don't have to pay full rate for everything. You can get a couple of courses free. And then also, if you get on the My Ivy, so my.ivytech.edu website, you can also download all the Microsoft Office products for free. And as long as you have your active Ivy Tech email, you can use all of those things, for free. You don't have to have your own subscription at home or anything like that. I think students also get that benefit too. I need to look into that, but I think anyone with an Ivy Tech email will be good to use that. So, enough of me jabbering on. We want to make sure we have time here for the second half for any questions that the group might have for Darlene or myself or any of their colleagues from across the state. So if you have any questions right now, please come off mute.
I have a question. So you mentioned about to get into the nursing program for extra points that if they've taken a CNA course, does that also count if students have taken a CMA course?
I know that they were working on that, and I believe one of the newer programs is they have paramedic to nursing, CMA to nursing. So there are some points there, but I couldn't tell you how many there are.
Okay,
But I
thank
can
you.
certainly get that information, and as long as we have your email, I can send that to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
I do have another question.
Okay.
So I am a nurse and I'm also a healthcare instructor for a new pathway program, which ours is geared towards CMA. And I am teaching HLHS 102. I have some students in my pathway program who are also taking APHY 101 in the afternoons. I don't qualify to teach the APHY 102 because if I don't have enough biological sciences under grad or graduate. So I guess I'm wondering if I have seniors wanting to go kind of straight into like Ivy Tech's nursing program, is that going to hinder them by just only taking the HLHS 102? Would they have to take that APHY 101 and 102 before they can get into the nursing program?
Yes. I believe on the application system, they only have to have the 101 initially, but they have to complete the 102 to complete the nursing program. But what we have found out, and we've had one of our biology professors tell us this, students that take HLHS 102, then take AMP 101 and 102, do a lot better in those courses. Because AMP 101 and 102 are very hard, they're very difficult. And for young students, like high school students, that HLHS 102 is a very good informational tool, I think, to like build on that information. So when they get to the AMP 101 and 102, they're not a deer in the headlights, so to speak. They kind of know a little bit about the topics, but they're able to build on what they know. So, and she presented that to one of our advisory board meetings, and she said the students do very well. So that's what I would tell the students if they're going to nursing. They still have to take the A&P 101 and 102, but the HLHS 102 will help prepare them for that.
Yes, I totally agree. So would you suggest, because I have the way my healthcare pathway program is kind of built is this is built for like juniors, and then their senior year, they're doing that work-based learning. Would you suggest of them taking the HLHS 102 junior year, and then they could take the APHY 101 and 102 their senior year?
That's what I would suggest.
Okay. Thank you.
To help build that knowledge base.
Okay, and in the chat, I did put at least the handbook. I could find the handbook from last year, and it has a section about the points and how different courses feed into that. So I haven't, there's like 5 pages. I didn't read all of it. I just found it real quick. I put it in there though, but I know it's on page 31. So I did put that in the chat. And then there is also a part on their website, on the Ivy Tech website, and I will put that in the chat as well. So there's at least some resources there. And of course, your local program chair can help out with a lot of the very, uniqueness type questions that go with the nursing program.
Yeah, and nursing did change their curriculum. It began this fall. So even if you looked at it last year, please look at it again because it has changed.
Yeah, and I think this is the current handbook. I just came across it for this year. And it looks like it has a link to some of the point system stuff. So I'll put that in the chat as well for anyone to view. Okay, do we have any other questions?
Good afternoon. My name's Ron. I have a couple questions for you. I hail from the Lafayette area and Tippecanoe School Corporation and Greater Lafayette Career Academy. Tippecanoe County or Tippecanoe School Corporation is the first and only school corporation in the state of Indiana that has already adopted the new pathways. So we spent all summer redesigning high school curriculum to be finalized again by the end of this year. So we already have the 3 pathways going, and so we're utilizing capstones for a lot of that work-based learning. I teach HLHS 100, 104, PARM 102, and HSPS 125 throughout the year, in addition to a law and ethics class for a capstone. But we, aside from clinical, so if we have EMT students coming through their junior year, I believe what we're going to do is have a capstone set up for work-based learning. We have agreements with probably, well, both hospital systems in our town and all of the ambulance services and a sundry of other mental health organizations. So work-based learning is going to be very inclusive for their healthcare education from a work-based learning. There isn't time to do it during the actual class time for the EMS program, but as a capstone, there's going to be a lot of work-based learning. But some of the things you've talked about already, we are already doing, and it's for anybody who's looking at it as a monumental task. It's not nearly as bad as what I thought it was going to be as far as the intensity of getting all the requirements done, and maintaining dual enrollment and dual credit with you guys as well. So it's working out very well. And we just had an advisory board meeting yesterday, and we're the only program in about a 9-county area that can customize our program for what the employers are looking for. So if there's new equipment, they're helping facilitate getting that for us. If there's new ideas, new concepts, they let me know, and I tailor make the students ideally when they come out with a National Registry license They're tailor-made for the people in our community. They're screaming for help. And so we've had great success. Our next step is to get the capstone in place better than we already have. I mean, we have a capstone because Perkins says we have to have a capstone, but nobody's utilizing it yet. But it's going to be a work-based learning type thing. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we are doing what we're talking about, and it's working really well. And it wasn't tremendously difficult to make that transition. Most of the transition comes with the high school level, and then we just kind of coordinate what we're left with and help facilitate those pathways with those school corporations. Because we have 5 or 6 corporations that feed into us, one of which has already adopted the new pathways, the other ones have not. So we're kind of in a state of flux with everybody, but by the end of this year, everybody's gonna be on the same page. So it's doable.
Well, we appreciate those words of encouragement and hearing, a success story. Hopefully, I'm sure we will hear lots of similar other stories here over the next year or two. That's what the state wants, Ivy Tech and our K-12 partners to do. And also, thank you for the litany of dual credit offerings that you are offering as a dual credit instructor. That's quite the impressive list. I don't know which dual credit teacher in the state offers the most courses, but you listed several there, so you would definitely be towards the top of the list. So we do appreciate all that hard work that you're doing there. Someone asked in the chat about how they can access the free courses, the 2 courses a semester with Ivy Tech. Just reach out to your K-14 director for that. I know at least here, I'm at the Columbus campus, have an office here. I believe that goes through DocuSign now and HR, but each campus is set up a little bit differently just depending on the size and structure of that campus. But reach out to your K-14 director. They'll get you in touch with the appropriate people, and they'll get it all squared away for the spring semester. Do we have any other questions from anyone joining us today? We have about another 10, 11 minutes before we're scheduled to be done, but if we don't have any questions, we can always head out a few minutes early too. Okay, well, I do want to thank all of you for joining us today. It says a lot for each and every one of you joining us and going above and beyond and doing this completely optional discipline dialogue. We appreciate you joining us today, but also we appreciate everything that you're doing for your students. There's a lot of great opportunities that are happening across the state. Ron just gave some examples of things that are in development or being implemented right now that's really going to make a difference in the lives of your students. And all of that would not be possible without our dual credit instructors and also our faculty here on campus. So we appreciate everyone who really leans into this work and makes these opportunities available to your students. It says a lot about you as a person and as a teacher, and your willingness to go above and beyond. And whether it's joining this or doing dual credit or other things like that, it's not always the easiest to provide all those opportunities for your students. So that says a lot about you, and we appreciate the partnership. Darlene, do you have something real quick before?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention about the common assessments for HLHS 101 and 105. So those may be coming up if your instructors are teaching over one semester. If they struggle with accessing that exam or anything on the exam, please put them in touch with me and I will help them. I'm one of the co-mentors for 101, so I'll be glad to help them with that final.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do have a question about that. So my HLHS 101 is like a full year or like 2 semesters.
Okay.
And I went to the exam and it shuts off. It's not available after like January 31st or something.
Yeah,
So,
it'll become available again in the spring.
oh,
What
okay.
happens is that it's set for the term, but then there's a few extra weeks for students who get incompletes So they keep the exam open for a couple of weeks afterwards, just so they can get those students finished. But then there'll be a new password and a new expiration date second semester.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And someone asked a question about the YouTube page. Anyone who got this calendar invite for this meeting, when I get it posted on the YouTube page, I just reply all and send it out to everyone. So you'll get the recording here in a few days. I hope to get them all done on Friday. So, okay. Well, thank you, Darlene. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for joining us. Like I said, we appreciate all the partnership and all the great things that are happening. If there's anything we can do to help, just reach out to myself. I put my email in the chat, or reach out to your local program chair. They're always willing and able and happy to help. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
You too, Mark. Bye.